Hi guys, today I want to talk about some disappointing reads. I was going to copy lots of people and do like a disappointing reads of 2017 video, but then, we're getting good into January now, and I thought people are sick of the whole 2017, 2018 video stuff, and I've been doing a lot of it, so I'm keeping this as a general disappointing read. So some of these books I didn't read in 2017 and I read beforehand, but yeah, I have quite a few popular books on this list, so please don't hate me if your favourite book is on this list. It's just because I had a different opinion and a different reading experience, and it probably didn't live up to my specific expectations. The first book I want to mention is the only physical book I don't have with me. I'm not sure where it's gone. I think I might have lent it to Amy, but that is More Happy Than Not by Silvera. He's a very popular author on BookTube, and I have his other book, They Both Die at the End, on my TBR shelf because I definitely want to give him another chance. I follow him on Twitter and he seems like a lovely man. But I just really didn't like this book. I loved the premise so much of like people going and getting a pill, and I think it was a pill or an operation or something, and like forgetting memories. It was really, really interesting. I loved the kind of like, what has he forgotten, what's happened, all that kind of subplot was amazing. And at first I thought it was going to be a really diverse read, but the main problem I had with it was that the main character was in a relationship with a girl at the start of the book, and we were told that he was very, very happy, like they were like gazing into each other's eyes under the stars or something and telling each other how much they loved each other, and he was really excited to have sex with her, and there was like a proper romance there. And then he starts to get feelings for a guy friend, and I'm not going to give spoilers for the books, but basically I thought there was a really good potential here for bisexual representation, specifically someone who is bisexual and still in a relationship of like opposite gendered, because you don't really see that. If you do have bi rep, it's kind of like it tends to be still like a guy who's with a guy or whatever. So I thought it was a really good opportunity for representation, but then that kind of got written out of the story, and again it's kind of a spoiler as to how, but it basically made it seem like all those feelings were false and you can only be one or the other, and there's like no in between. You can, like you're either straight or you're gay, and you're lying to yourself if you say you're one or the other, and that just really didn't sit right with me. And I'm very close to someone who is bisexual, and I told him about it and he wasn't happy with the way it sounded like the rep went, and he didn't read the book himself, but from what I told him he wasn't happy either. So it was just kind of like, I don't know, I felt like it was overhyped. I didn't like the writing either. It felt really messy and kind of very simplistic. So yeah, I just didn't really love the book and I found it kind of problematic, and it might not be my place to say that it was problematic because I am straight cis girl, but in terms of talking to someone about it, he also didn't think it sounded like great rep. But yeah, that's probably one of the most controversial ones. Get it out of the way fast. I am still going to give Silvera another chance because his book, They Both Die at the End, sounds really, really interesting. The next one is The Silver Mask by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. This is the fourth book in the Magisterium series. Fifth one will be out next September. And I've been very weird relationship with this series anyway. Like, I never thought it was brilliant, and I've only kind of kept reading them because they're so short and I'm intrigued at what's going to happen. I think the fifth book is the only book left now. But yeah, I mean, the Iron Trial was like okay, then the Copper Gauntlet got better, and then the third one, the Bronze Key, was even better. So then I was like, right, series is finally like getting better now. And then this was such a letdown. Like, I literally read it a couple of months ago, I can barely remember what happened, and the series just isn't growing up. Like, the characters still sound like they're 11 years old and they're now meant to be like 15, and it's weird because now some of them are kind of dating and it just feels like they're still children, and it's kind of strange. I don't know, in a way it kind of feels like the story's going around in circles, and such a big thing happened at the end of the last book, and then this book, I don't know, it just felt very anticlimactic, and I'm excited to see what the fifth book holds. But yeah, this book was just very disappointing compared to the third one. Another one from a series is The Kill Order by James Dashner. This is the prequel to The Maze Runner, which is one of my favourite dystopian trilogies. Absolutely loved it. And this prequel is so bad. Like, I know he's done another prequel called The Fever Code that actually talks about all the characters in the original trilogy, because this was just about completely random new people, and it was kind of about how the world got to where it is at the start of The Maze Runner. but it was just done really badly. Like, the writing was awful, the same phrases were used over and over again, it was repetitive, like the plot didn't go anywhere, none of the characters were developed. Like, it's one of the worst books I've ever read in terms of writing. Like, I don't remember ever having those problems with the Maze Runner, but for this I was like, wow, this is just unbearable to get through. I'm pretty sure I did a review where I talk about it more in detail, so I'll try and leave that linked somewhere. But yeah, I would just not, if you like the Maze Runner trilogy, just don't read this. Just don't. Another one that I read before 2017 that disappointed me is Not a Drop to Drink by Mindy McGinnis. Now, Mindy McGinnis' book called The Female of the Species, which I read in 2017, is one of like my new all-time favourite books. Like, I really, really loved it. But I read this one first, and I don't know, it sounded like a really interesting dystopian and kind of very unique, and I just heard really, really good things about the writing and the story, and I don't know, I just found it okay. There was like a weird romance that I didn't care about, that didn't make sense. I didn't love the writing, I can't properly remember what happened, and I bought the sequel right after reading this thinking like, oh, I've heard the second one's better, but I honestly don't know if I'm ever going to read it, because even though I really love The Female of the Species, this book just felt really, really weak, and there's so many better dystopians out there, in my opinion. The next one is probably the most controversial book on this list. I read it in 2017 and was just so disappointed, and that is Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. This book was like huge on BookTube in about 2016. Like, it was everyone's new favourite contemporary, everyone loved it so much, and I never really thought it was something I was that interested in, because I'm not a massive contemporary person. But then her new book, The Upside of Unrequited, came out. It sounded really, really good, so I was like, okay, I'll read the first one. You know, I'll read Simon first. And I lent it to my boyfriend Robin, he really, really loved it. And then I read it and I was just so disappointed. I don't know if it was the hype, but honestly, I read it really quickly, but I was so bored. I just didn't care. I hate motorbikes. I just didn't care about the relationship between Simon and Blue. Like, it felt really childish. I can get the whole they liked being anonymous thing, but as the book went on, it was like, why don't you just tell each other who you are? Like, this just seems silly now. And when it was revealed who Blue was, it wasn't like exciting. I had loads of theories about who it could be, and it was just like, nah. And I didn't care, and I didn't really ship it. And I'd like to maybe see these characters pop up in her other books, because apparently they do. It'd be nice to see Simon and Blue together in later books with like a more developed relationship, but I just don't think this lived up to the hype. Like, the writing was boring, the characters just felt so underdeveloped. Like, Simon and his family were okay, but I don't know, I just wanted more from everyone that I just didn't get. It felt way too short. I just don't get the hype for this book at all. The next book on this list I'm really sad about, because it was one of those books, you know, you just think a book's going to be 5 stars and you're really excited for it and you're convinced like this is going to be a new favourite book, it's got everything I love, and then it just lets you down. And that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I thought I was going to love this because it was like post-apocalyptic Shakespeare theatre group. Like, that just sounds amazing. Like, I love Shakespeare and post-apocalyptic type stuff, especially when there's no zombies or anything and it's just like a virus. So this sounded so cool, right up my street. I just found it boring. Again, I didn't really connect with any of the characters, and I felt like it was trying to be quite complex, and that maybe kind of went over my head because it just wasn't what I was expecting from the book. It had like an interesting frame narrative, but it just jumped around so much and it made it very like confusing to begin with. It just didn't give me what I wanted, you know. There wasn't really much of a plot, and when plot happened it wasn't particularly exciting. The characters were just so boring. I wanted more Shakespeare and less rich man writes comics or whatever the hell was going on with some of the subplots. I like the framing narrative. I do think it's very, very well written. I just was expecting other things. I think maybe on a reread I would enjoy this more, but I don't think I will reread it because it was just so disappointing. And the last book on this list was another very talked about book, I think last year, maybe 2016, and that is This Is Where It Ends by Marieke Nijkamp. I'm sorry for pronunciation, I know I'm getting that wrong. But yeah, I bought this hardback signed from Foyles because it just sounded so interesting. You know, like, as someone from the UK, guns kind of just feel like a bit of a mystery. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a real gun. I've seen maybe like an air rifle where people shoot like pellets or cones, but not like a proper gun. I've never seen a gun. I've never seen someone shoot a gun, and I know it's just such a problem in America and such like an epidemic, and it's just so horrible that school shootings are even a thing, and especially how frequently they happen in America. So this seemed like a really interesting book from my perspective of just I don't know much about this topic, and I know it happens, but I just thought I would really appreciate kind of reading about it and kind of understanding more how it must feel to be a student in America and know that this is a possibility like any day. But it was just the writing really let this down. It had way too many perspectives for a start, so it was quite hard to keep track of who was who for quite a lot of the book. They were all kind of interconnected, which I did like, but it also had these random like text messaging sections in the middle which didn't make sense. Like I couldn't figure out who was meant to be texting who, and it felt kind of like a forced modern media thing rather than, it didn't really fit with the story. Like it could have been done really well, but it just didn't really make sense in this whole Twitter thing of, I don't know, I just didn't really understand what was happening with that. And yeah, the writing was just really, really poor. Like it also had a cheesy ending, and I was kind of like, for a book like this, how can you have a cheesy ending? Like it should have just been difficult and harrowing from the start and just, I don't know, it just, I can't believe how sort of cheesy it went at the end. And it wasn't like sentimental nice, it just felt like that is not what would have happened like a day later after what happened. That is just not what people would have been doing. Yeah, so this was just disappointing. I had heard people say the writing wasn't great, but I was just really disappointed with it. And I think she's got a new book coming out like this year or something, so I might pick that up if it's an interesting topic. But yeah, this just great subject matter and just not delivered very well. So these are all some books that disappointed me, which is quite a sad topic to talk about because you never want a book to disappoint you. Like obviously when I put in the effort to read these books, I had high hopes for all of them, especially when people say really positive things about them. You kind of get in your head that you're going to enjoy them, so it's obviously disappointing to not enjoy these books. Let me know down below some of your opinions on these books. Like I'm sure plenty of you guys love a lot of these books, and also let me know if you dislike some of the books I praise all the time, because it'd just be interesting to not have like a rant but just a discussion on differences of opinion. But I will see you guys on the next video. Bye!